And here we go. We are live. Everybody, make sure to comment down below your XFL team. We are joined by Break in the Action Sports. How you doing today? It's probably been a good day for you and a good day for me and a good day for all XFL fans out there. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you, man?
Doing pretty good. Can't complain. Can't complain. Everybody has been talking about the XFL. Rightfully so. The XFL is back, and hopefully, hopefully we'll get a season possibly in 2021. Wait on some people to come in. Again, apologize. We had some streaming difficulties
Live
to start off.
is live, and you never know what's going to happen.
Typing in some stuff. Alright, guys, comment down your XFL team. And in a minute, we'll get the live stream rolling. I'm going to get the video going, and we're going to start talking about the XFL. Chat, I want to know, what was your first reaction when it was purchased by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Danny Garcia, and of course Redbird Capital? What were you thinking when that happened? What did y'all think about that purchase? I'll start with you, Tyler. What did you think about The Rock? What was your first reaction when the XFL was purchased by this party?
I'm gonna be honest. I was a little shocked. I was like, huh? I knew his name was on there, but at first glance, it threw me for a loop, and I was confused.
Yeah, I mean, it was on the betting. If we actually put down $100, we could have gotten 1,200 for every $100 you put down. I mean, the odds were there, so Vegas knew something, which is kind of cool. We covered Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as a possible buyer. Danny Garcia, though, and Redbird Capital, they were not on there. But still, I mean, you could have made some big money if you had placed that bet. Man, I wish I had. I thought it was TNT. I thought it was TNT, honestly. Guys, did y'all think in the chat? Looks like we have some people rolling in. Sorry again for starting late. We had some technical difficulties, and we just got them fixed up. Hey, better late than never. Better
Yeah, that's
late
right.
than never. You know what I'm saying? Um,
Yeah,
Tyler, can you turn your mic up a little bit?
yeah, I get you some more. Where? How's that for you?
There we go. There we go. All right, guys. New people coming in. Make sure to comment your XFL team. Make your presence heard.
Yeah.
That's right, Mr. Pete. Can you smell what the XFL is cooking?
Oh yeah.
So now, guys, we're going to cover how do we think the XFL will start back up. They have 2021 plans. They want to start in 2021. How are they going to do it? How is this going to be possible? Is it possible? We'll start with you, Tyler. Do you have any thoughts about the XFL starting back up? When?
So this is where I actually got thinking about things. At first, like I said, I was shocked about hearing The Rock, and it was something for me that really came out of left field, because it was really, I mean, it was really something that we hadn't heard about. However, as I was looking at it, I'm like, this does kind of this makes sense to me. And so, I'm kind of looking, and I'm kind of thinking about, how what all is, going on, and what they really, and if I don't know if you read any of the interviews that Danny Garcia's done. I'm sure you have, and I'm kind of more talking about the viewers, but I'm sure you have, Sean. Sean, have you been reading her comments and stuff?
Yes, yes. So she came out and she said some stuff about a 2021 season.
Yeah, I mean, she is I have just been just very impressed with just how well she knows the XFL, how well she understands the fan base, and if you and I both know that Jeffrey Pollock and his team of whatever, I think there's like 7 of them left, who have been meticulously working day in and day out to keep this XFL running and things. I think that they're poised and ready to go. And the way that she's talking about bringing everybody back that they can, it seems like. I mean, they're going to put their stamp on this thing. They're going to make it their own, but it looks like that, they're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater on this one. They're keeping it intact, and I think that that's good, and it really makes them poised. A lot of people are out there saying, pump the brakes, hold it on. But with this, as I'm looking at this, I'm as all these pieces, and we'll go more down the line with those pieces, but as we continue to talk with this stuff. But 21 seasons, I think is and it's fantastic. I love the 2021 thing. So I think that unless something crazier than what's happened in 2020 happens, I think we're getting a 2021 season.
Yeah, and part of my thought is it's kind of a perfect storm with everything that's going on in college and the NFL. In college, you have players opting out. Players are basically saying they don't want to play. Everybody's coming up against their coaches, it seems like. And then in the NFL, players are not happy. Players are opting out. This could be a really good opportunity for the XFL to take advantage of that. Some people are not happy with the way that these professional leagues, and people have not been happy with the NCAA for a very long time for name and likeness reasons. And I always thought that the XFL could take advantage of that. They can do it now because they already have a story, Kenny Robinson, who took advantage of that. And there's a market of college football players out there. Sure, they might not be the stars like Trevor Lawrence, but they could be these mid-tier guys who'd say, yeah, I'd rather go to the XFL, get paid, than get a degree in college. That's just realistic. Yes, we would probably like to have some of those guys get degrees, but that's just not the reality. And what's his name? Who does the UFC? There was a great interview with him.
Dana White.
Dana White. Guys, if you're watching, Dana White was talking about what he is going to tell The Rock. I'm going to make a video about it in a couple days. Dana White is super on board with the XFL. I think that he is going to have kind of an under-the-radar impact on Dwayne The Rock Johnson and the XFL. He is 100% on board for doing a 2021 season, doing it quickly, and, taking advantage of kind of a down year for the NFL and for college football.
Yeah, he pretty much flat out came out and said, he goes, listen, I've already kind of done this. I know what it is. You need to take advantage of this opportunity that you have. And that's the thing that you see with these businessmen and women that, they take the circumstances and they evaluate things and take the opportunity. And that's the way that Dana White's seeing this, as an opportunity for them to really bring football and bring a good product. The XFL is a very, very good product. And when you're looking at things, you said, kind of these mid-tier guys and all this stuff, it really reminds me of PJ Walker. If you remember, back in February, we're still calling him Philip Walker, and nobody has a clue about who he is. I mean, you've got to Google down through him and look at his Wikipedia page to figure out. And now you say PJ Walker, and the sports football world knows exactly who he is. So, I'm right there with you. And when you've got a successful businessman like Dana White, backing you up with a 2021 season, I think we're sitting in pretty good company, if you ask me.
Yeah, if Dana White somehow gets on board, then I don't think there's any stopping the XFL, because if you watch what Dana White has built with mixed martial arts fighting creating that, building that sport, not from the ground up necessarily, but creating an incredible brand. It's very incredible, and it shows how great of a businessman he is. Combine that with Danny Garcia. Now, I don't know realistically how involved The Rock is necessarily going to be. Remember, this guy is an actor. He is a movie star. It takes a long time. It's a lot of work to be an actor. I don't know how involved he is going to be. In all honesty, I think that Danny Garcia is going to play a huge role in the XFL, and if so, I'm happy. I'm all for it because she definitely knows what she is doing. She is an incredible businesswoman and has done so much. CEO, she understands production, media, marketing, a lot of the things you need to start a football league.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the thing for me that is really exciting with The Rock is just to see his excitement for it and the videos he's been posting and the information he's been putting out for it. I've really just been regardless of what you think his involvement is going to be with it, just the enthusiasm that he already has for it is exciting to me.
Yeah, and somebody just commented, FJ365E, you took the words right out of my mouth. I think that The Rock is more of a marketing tool because he's big.
Necessarily. Go ahead.
He is one of the biggest images in America now. Not saying that he's not going to work. He will probably be more on the football side of things if we're going to be real. He's probably going to be more involved in the rules, the players, because he is a former football player, and his passion is getting football players those chances. Because remember, if you watch his video, he talks about his very short time in the CFL, and he played for Miami, not the professional Miami University, not Miami of Ohio, but
the Hurricanes. Yep.
This is a guy who loves football, and then you combine that with Danny Garcia, who's all business, and then you combine that with Redbird. Nobody's talking about Redbird. They could possibly be the biggest addition because of what they do, and I'm just going to put up, I'm making a video currently talking about them and why they are so important for the XFL, but Redbird is a huge investing group. They do a lot with sports. They own a French soccer team. They work with the NFLPA, MLB's Player Association. They work with a lot of leagues around everywhere. I mean, if you look on the screen right now, you see some of their numbers. These guys do not joke around, and they know that they can knock it out of the park with the XFL. And I'm excited for them and what they can bring.
Yeah, I think, when you start looking at it, you've got the Yes Network, which is the Yankees, which is
huge.
Big dollars there, huge. And then you've got the NFL Experience, which the NFL, on location experiences, that's kind of like all of the festivities they do with the Super Bowl, stuff that they do at games, the Pro Bowls, things like that. I mean, and then the one that was fascinating to me, did you look at the One Team, I think it's what it's called, with them?
I did. I was kind of confused. I couldn't wrap my head around it. By the way, thank you, Steve, for the donation. But was that the one with... I remember seeing a very famous name attached to it. Oh, the A's guy. Is that what you're referring to?
This is more... This is one, and this is going to be your gamers, your guys who are wanting the professional football game. This is the one where... so One Team Partners is what they're called. And what they are is they specifically work with the NFL, the MLB, to monetize name and image and likenesses for a collective of players and all that, for trading cards, video games, all of that stuff. So they work in conjunction with like the Players Association, the NFL Players Association, the MLB Players Association, Major League Soccer, WNBA, all of that type of stuff. So they work with those companies to on the making sure that the players get their revenue for the use of their likenesses, which I thought was kind of obviously when you've got $4 billion you're going to have that you're managing. You're definitely going to have a lot of different things in there, but I just found that one was kind of fascinating to me. That you've got kind of the ties there, especially with what everybody, everybody's wanting something besides Madden that they could play, and a lot of our viewers have really been wanting something, was hoping that the XFL was going to have that. So kind of having that kind of thing, with this company and that type of a thing might be able to make that road a little easier.
Yeah, and I agree. One thing that they bring to the table, I think that they were the media company that maybe these reports were referring to, because they do a lot with media. Or I don't really know, but Redbird, they have, this is a good segue, they have a lot of influence on media. So does Danny Garcia, so does Dwayne The Rock Johnson. So everybody has been talking about, I've seen some comments already, who will be broadcasting the games. And there are a lot of connections everywhere. I mean, everywhere you look. Dwayne The Rock Johnson has a TV show on NBC. He's done stuff probably in the past with NBC, ESPN and Fox, if y'all been keeping up, they both wanted to change their contracts up. ESPN was a little bit more hesitant, I would say, because they wanted Vince involved. But I would argue that Dwayne The Rock Johnson is bigger. And then Fox, I don't know if y'all saw, but Fox, XFL, their account on Twitter, right when news broke, they released an edit with The Rock and the XFL logo. So I feel like Fox is still interested, but could NBC and ESPN still be in the game for that?
Oh yeah, I think you're probably NBC might give you a guff for this, but I think really right now ESPN and Fox are really the two places that I think are going to be the strongest, for you with that. But who knows what they come out with? I mean, they've got ties everywhere, and I will say the thing that I really do like is that, um, you know. Danny Garcia, she's had her hand in quite a bit of different things in production side of things,
Yes.
and The Rock is more than just pretty face and muscles. He's a great actor, but he's also been on that side of things as well, and putting together some shows and some stuff like that, to where I really do believe, just with all of their ties, that they could do multiple things. I mean, you could see it on possibly multiple networks now. You've kind of got, different groups and families and of companies, meaning, you kind of have, TNT's kind of lumped themselves with the whole CBS thing. And, they've kind of got that whole, them Truth TV and all that they've got going on, especially when you got the NCAA, the Sweet 16, the Final Four, the tournament going on there, March Madness, and then then you got your Fox group of channels, you got your Disney group of channels and stuff. So I think that both of them would probably want to jump on this. Now, what type of a deal they do with them is going to probably be another story. But I wouldn't be surprised if we just saw them, back with Fox, and back with ESPN. I could see NBC as a dark horse in there, but I don't. I mean, they could do something with CBS, but I think CBS is probably going to be the one left out in this one.
And I think that CBS seems like the cheapest quality production, just in my opinion. when compared to Fox and ESPN. I don't like the CBS broadcast as much. Just my opinion.
No, I think you're right there, and I think you're spot on with it. I don't really feel like that. I think they know what they know, they do what they do, and right now, I don't really think that they're looking to try to reinvent the wheel in a different market. Meaning ESPN and Fox, yes, they already had they already had their production built to do a football game.
Mm-hmm.
But with the XFL, they had to kind of redesign the things, right? They had to they had to do different people, set up things like that, and it just doesn't seem to me like CBS really wants to do that, and you could really tell that they struggled, and the NFL Network struggled with the AAF.
Oh yeah, it was pretty bad. The announcing, I loved the AAF, huge fan, but gosh, they had some work to do.
So yeah, I don't see that really happening, and I don't really, I haven't seen the young up and coming talent like Fox and ESPN have with their guys, to where that they have those hungry guys that they could really get in there could really take things off, and really bring up the not only the the commentator level, but also on the production side of things. So I would say you probably got them right there. Fox probably first, then ESPN, and then NBC, because they've got some ties there. But I don't know, with Florio continuing to get his jabs in at the XFL, they might be the oddball out again.
Yeah, I know. I was watching it. I think the XFL got mentioned this morning on Pro Football Talk, I believe. Not many positive things from them. They were interested though, so that's good.
Well, they always talk about it because it's trending.
Yeah.
They have to talk about it, which cracks me up, and it always cracks me up because Florio and I always want to say Phil. But it's his son. But
his brother also played for the Atlanta Legends.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, now that you say that, I do remember that. He had a short-lived time there with the Legends.
All the quarterbacks there did. The Legends.
Yeah, but you could just tell that whenever they have to talk about the XFL, it's it's beneath them.
Yeah.
So yeah.
They're smug about it.
Yeah.
One idea that I had that I wanted the XFL to do originally, I'm going to make a video about it because I'm still sorting it out. But everybody in the chat, stop typing real quick. Close your eyes. Now, if you have seen either Hard Knocks on HBO or you have seen Last Chance U on Netflix, you're already going to get to what I'm hinting at. Also, you have to note that both Danny Garcia and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson have connections to HBO. So that's why I'm talking about this. What if the XFL had a show that followed a certain team or possibly certain players from different teams around for the whole season, made it like a Last Chance U, called it Last Chance League, if it was on Netflix, something like that. A TV show that would be, you get all that good drama to follow along with the season, kind of like Hard Knocks, kind of like Last Chance U, just for the XFL. That seems like something they could definitely pull off with Danny Garcia, who has been a part of production and been a part of the media. You already have an actor on board. You have people who know how it works. Maybe not year one, or maybe even year one if they did it in a bubble. That would be awesome. Who would not watch Last Chance League, the XFL? I would love to see what Landry Jones is doing every day, or Josh Johnson, or if they did stuff on Phillip Walker, PJ Walker, or if they did stuff on a guy like Keenan Reynolds coming from Navy. I mean, there's so many great storylines that you could cover. If people are willing to watch JUCO football players over the course of a season, would they not want to watch professional guys who they already know? Like, come on. That would be awesome.
Well, let's go a step further with that. So when you talked about Danny Garcia, and you talked about all of the things that the interviews that she did and all this stuff, they want to make it a year-round product. And so I think that you could have that show, not only have that show, but what about if now they're down on the field and it's just not, this is last chance league, but it's not just the players that are playing and we see the week in, week out. What if it is that they're covering the tryouts, they're covering training camp? And so the one thing that I will praise the XFL about, and that they got right, and it's something that the AAF didn't get right, and I think that the AAF, they knew that they had trouble, and that's why we didn't get, they didn't have their crap together when they were in training camp, and that's why they really didn't let us in to really see kind of what's going on, because they just weren't ready to play football. Whereas the XFL, hey, they let us know what was going on. They let us know the storylines. They showed clips from players and that. What if they took that a step further with this? I love your idea, but get us involved in that. Those storylines and those people. Those guys that might not even make the team, but now you're already invested in, and that and making you invested in them, as they're at these tryout areas, as they're at these things. I mean, there's just so much, and Danny Garcia and The Rock both have such experience with doing reality TV and drama TV that they could put those two together and really come up with some beautiful stuff, and the stuff that not only football people want to see, but will attract other people because of the drama, and like she said, the storytelling. They want to get more into the storytelling, which that was the perfect way to put it, and I just loved hearing that from her. So I'm with you 100% on that. That would be fantastic.
I mean, I wonder how many viewers Last Chance U gets, because that has become a cult following, an awesome TV show. I just watched the newest season. It was pretty crazy. I mean, would you not love to see Winston Moss behind the scenes talking to his players? Or
yeah,
apparently he fired a coach mid-game week 1. That is stuff that anybody would die for. I mean, that is quality content, and we got a lot of the quality content because the players were mic'd up, the reporters were on the field talking to the players. I loved, every couple of games the reporter would be talking to a guy on defense. They'd be in the middle of a conversation, be like, yeah, I gotta go. I gotta put my helmet on and go. And they'd just go. Or it was like Laura, I forgot which ESPN reporter was like, please don't cuss. And the guy was just, had a dirty mouth. And I was laughing and watching with friends, and everyone was like, this is awesome. I mean,
it was great. And here's the thing. We got characters with the XFL, and the one thing one of the many knocks that I have on the No Fun League is the fact that we don't get to see the characters until 10 years down the road when they're already retired and we see their story on NFL films. But to see and I love it. I mean, they just don't make guys like Jerry Glanville anymore.
Yeah.
Or like Norm Chow, or like Hal Mummy. I mean, they just don't make them like they used to. I mean, you could say what you want. I mean, they had to, Hal Mummy, he ended up not being able to do his job anymore because of his injury. But the man finished coaching a game with a broken leg.
And Hal Mummy is the father of the air raid offense. They could have done a cool interview or piece of him teaching the air raid to Landry Jones and the offense. Or what a great storyline we would get with quarterbacks there. The injury to Landry Jones.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see the the talks of who to start. Anytime you have a quarterback situation, just referring to Last Chance U again, they had quarterback injuries. If you've seen the latest season, I would recommend it. That was fun to watch. They didn't know who their quarterback was going to be week in and week out. And just watching, I would have liked to see kind of the rise and the fall of Cardell Jones, the rise of Josh Johnson, Luis Perez. You could just do a TV show on the quarterbacks and everybody would watch.
Oh yeah, you could easily the quarterbacks. The coaches. I think you got some guys like a Nick Holly that I think if they just would have followed him around with the camera, talk or Mr. Excitement, Montez Carter, and
yes.
They had stars in the making, and yes, these guys are guys that didn't make it to the NFL, but man, they were fun to watch, and we could have got more of that with it. And if they can put together, some more of this stuff, it would have been fantastic to see some of these battles, to see some of this stuff, to see some of the stuff that went down with Oakman.
Oh my gosh!
How he. And we finally got the story months later that, the coach was like, you need to take some time. You need to get your head right. And he went out, got his head right, and then he was back on the team. But he was literally, it was like, okay, he's off the team. Like, he went from, like, he was one of their best players to, like, okay, they're just letting their best player go. And he's got all these issues and this and that. And that, Winston Moss doesn't like him. And they had this big argument thing and this and that, and it comes out that wasn't the case. Winston Moss told him, hey, you need to get your crap together, and then you need to come back. And, and then because it was like, oh, he's gone. Oh, wait, now he's back on the team and everything's just fine. I mean, to actually see that all play out, that would have been fantastic. I mean, but see, this is the thing. The NFL won't ever let us see that.
No, they won't.
And I think that The Rock and Garcia will continue to I mean, the Rock, he understands that stuff, and he knows how to play a crowd. He knows what a crowd wants to see, and and she does as well. And so when you're looking at that with it, and they know what brought fans to the XFL and what crazy fans you guys are, and that's what I'm talking about. All you guys in the chat, all you crazy XFL fans, that's why we're sitting here talking today, because we just would not shut up about it. And we were the ones that were out there, like, toting that the XFL needs to come back. You guys are the crazy, beer snake guys, the ones who are dressing up crazy in the stands, going nuts for these teams, for these guys nobody's heard about, that, Florio and his band of merry men don't want to talk about, that they're beneath him, that, guys are making these statements about how the XFL is terrible and take one play and don't even watch the game to even see how fun they were. Hats off to you guys, because that's why we're sitting here talking, and they know that. And so I'm me again. You can hear me getting excited here with it, because the possibilities are there, and I think that they're going to allow us to have the things that we want as fans.
Yeah, and like, I think that they understand how big the XFL fan base could be, because they watched the social media just explode. The social media was incredible with the XFL. There's no beer snake in the NFL. I mean, there are crazy fans. Yes, you got Buffalo Bills. And I'll say it, I'm an NFL fan. I love watching these quarterbacks in the NFL. They're incredible. But I would love to see some of these guys who are in the NFL who are maybe backup quarterbacks go out and play. One of my favorite players to watch late in the XFL who I really wanted to see develop was Taylor Cornelius, a guy who maybe could have been a practice squad NFL guy. Came out and he earned the starting job after the Vipers had a really, really rough start. Again, another great storyline. But but honestly, it doesn't need to be NFL type play to succeed. It doesn't need to be that. College football defenses are horrible. I mean, they are terrible. We still watch college football because, I mean, the way it's turning is every other offense has an insane amount of speed, size, and skill. That's why the national championship, that's why a lot of these games are just turning into shootouts. The XFL isn't there quite yet, but I think after a couple years, the XFL could maybe compete with college football, could maybe compete with some of that talent.
And here's the thing that like for me, this is why I find it just absolutely ludicrous to me, because the whole statement that, well, the XFL is not that good quality of football. Like you said, we know that people watch college football. We know, and so yeah, these guys aren't in the NFL, and yeah, they're not up to the level. But to say that it's bad football, and oh, you shouldn't watch that. Just about every one of these guys that are on these teams are former stars on their college team. Let alone tons of them are former All-Americans, players of the years. I mean, the list. These are award-winning college. These are the best college players. So you mean to tell me that they just all of a sudden, now that they didn't make the NFL, they're all terrible? That they can't play football anymore, but yeah, you're gonna watch guys. You're gonna sit there day in, Saturday in, Saturday out, and you're gonna sit there and watch your favorite team with guys that that are not gonna win Player of the Year, that are not gonna be All-Americans, and then tell me that these guys are crap. It just goes to show a lot of where kind of biases are. But the thing is when people do when they did watch the XFL and gave it a shot, looked at it, they're like, wow, this is legit. And I think the more and more that things go, and the more that they give us, I think the more and more people are gonna catch on with this thing. This, I'm, like I said, I think that we are, we're seeing a revolution here in football, and I think that we're finally waking up to what soccer has done across the world, and I think we're finally starting to see that with football.
Yeah, and there's definitely a way to take advantage, of the situation with the media kind of moguls that have purchased the XFL, capture the storylines, also possibly paying college players. They definitely could do that. It would be interesting to see which direction The Rock is going to go, of course, and Danny Garcia and Redbird, and how much money is Redbird going to put into this? Because we do know that the XFL, they're absorbing about $8 million in assets and debt from this purchase. So not only did they purchase it for $15 million, they're going to lose a couple more. 15 million divided by 3 isn't as much for them, to be fair. And add that 8 million also. But
well, that's where the things get hairy with that whole the whole they're wanting the creditors are wanting to put a hold on things. I mean, obviously you did your video on that, but if I'm looking at it correctly, the creditors are stopping this thing because they're the way that it was written up, they're getting everything for $15 million. That that it's written up differently than what it was to begin with. To begin with, it was whatever it sells for, and then, if I'm not mistaken, and then the stuff on top of it was how it was being auctioned off. But that's not how it was sold.
Really?
Yeah, if you go back and look at and that's why they put this the thing in there. It isn't so much that, one, they don't disagree with selling it to this group. The creditors, it's kind of funny, they wrote in there that they don't they think that it's a great sell, that they want this partnership to get the XFL.
Well,
that
it's their only choice too. It's their only option.
Yeah, I mean, and I didn't get a chance because I've been out working. I didn't get a chance to watch your video on it. So you went through and kind of explained things already to the viewers of what's kind of going on, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Um, Basically talking about how they were unhappy with the evaluation of $15 million. But but in my sense, it's okay. The XFL had one interested, or I'll backtrack. The XFL had one realistic party willing to purchase. There were a lot of parties. The other parties weren't realistic. The XFL cut all the other parties, and they decided that Danny Garcia, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and Redbird Corporation, they were the only legit people bidding on the XFL, so they decided, hey, we'll just sell it to you.
Yeah, they were the only viable bid.
Yes.
And so they were the only ones that actually, had enough capital, and haven't had enough resources that could substantiate actually owning a league of this size. So that's what eliminated the auction, and what they sold them with that. Yeah, they're just wanting. I mean, the bottom line. Do it, but you need to pony up some more money, and so we'll see what the bankruptcy court has to say about that. Again, it's the court that's making the decision, not the group of creditors. So if they deem that to be well, and two, this just shows you how good of a businesswoman Danny Garcia is. If you noticed in that interview that she did, she talks about the process. A lot of you guys might not know, but this is her baby. This is her brainchild. It wasn't The Rock's.
It was her idea.
She got with The Rock, and they pretty much do just about everything together. And so as she's doing this, she goes, so I talked with The Rock, and he was immediately on board. So we started talking with investors. We started talking with banks. We started talking with lawyers. And then she puts in this nice little tidbit, which I absolutely love. She goes, we knew we couldn't talk with Vince McMahon. That just goes to show you that she's on top of her game. She knows her stuff. She knows what she's doing with this thing. And so they've not only, it shows that Redbird has a lot of confidence for a company like Redbird to come in here, and really take them on, and to pony up with them in that. It really shows just how much trust that they have in these two. So it'll be interesting to see if they work out some type of a deal with them. Me personally, I would like to see. I'd like to see them, just keep the $15 million, and then them just pay all of the debts for the XFL and just continue to move forward. They have the capital to do it.
Yeah, they do.
We'll see what happens throughout proceedings. It's right. No hurt feelings here. It's all business, so we'll see what happens with that. But that's what I would like to see. And I'd like to just see them kind of pick up where things left off and just kind of move on. Now, it seems to be that for the most part, that's what they want to do. But, in reality, we'll see what happens when they put their twist on things. And, if bridges have been burned to bring people back and things of that nature. But, this is kind of, we are in some, there's still a lot that needs to be hashed out with this deal.
Yeah, and also, I have an opinion on this. The creditors should be... You can't always get what you want. The creditors should be...
Are we still on?
Yeah, they said the audio's back. The creditors should be happy with what they get. Because the XFL is a league that is folded twice. Trying to bring football into spring, which has had multiple, more than you can count, failed football leagues. That's not necessarily an attractive business to venture into. And obviously, if there was only one party...
Hey, I can't hear you on my side. Do you have it muted?
I should not be muted. 1 second, guys. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right, sorry about that. We'll just get back going. So the XFL they should be grateful for what they're getting, because it's not an attractive brand. Again, the XFL has folded twice. Yes, it only folded because COVID hit, but still doesn't make it necessarily attractive when they lost a lot of money. Also, they're working in the spring. When has a spring football league ever succeeded? The answer to that is never. So, is it necessarily an attractive business plan or business opportunity for a lot of people? No, probably not. That's probably why the XFL only had one legit party.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm there with you. Who knows? They might meet in the middle. We'll see.
Yeah, I think that's what'll end up happening. But if I were the creditors, I would honestly not try to push too much. Because if you're worried about losing them, you're worried about The Rock just being like, you know what, guys, I'm done with this.
Yeah, and it seems to be they're playing friendly.
Yeah.
And the way that The Rock and Danny Garcia have come out and done things, this thing's a done deal.
Yeah.
Everything hasn't been hashed out correctly. We don't have all of the details of everything, but for them to be doing interviews like they're doing, to be out there on social media like they are, to be toting things like they are, this is a done deal.
Yeah.
It's just, all of the logistics and everything just need to be worked out, and it's going to work out in court. And we'll see it from there. But I totally agree with you. I think both sides need to give, and I think both sides right now are just being gracious. And I mean, they came out and said that they want the deal. They just want a little bit more money. I mean, if you're not being kind and nice, that's not how you're going to come out and play hardball.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. All right, we'll move on to the next topic. And this is a topic that I just posted a video about, 2 videos about today. And it's a topic that a lot of people have been commenting down below. Where could the new XFL cities be? So this is kind of 2 things. First of all, we're going to cover relocation, because Danny Garcia, being the smart businesswoman that she is, she noticed that some of the cities may have not worked out for the XFL. Now, expansion is going to come up after, because expansion definitely wouldn't happen immediately. It would happen years down the road. So what do you think about relocation? Chat, I want to see some of your relocation ideas for some of the cities. We already know that Dallas is probably not going to get a team, because we know that their stadium contract, all of that came out a while ago. That's not being renewed. We know that Houston's getting renewed. So what do you think about the new locations, Tyler?
So I think, just jump in here if I start to steal a whole lot of your thunder. If we're just specifically talking about relocation cities, I think the first place that you definitely go is that is LA needs to move. That for me, that's one of the first ones that needs to move. And I know that they're not the ones that have been toted like, a couple of the others, but LA needs to move somewhere. San Diego seems to be a good place. Oakland's kind of one people have been throwing around. I think San Diego's probably the place to go. They really love their football.
Let me interrupt you here. 2 things regarding LA. Did you see Josh Johnson's tweet?
I did not. I have not been on Twitter. What did he tweet?
He tweeted at, I believe it was Danny Garcia. The town would be open to having a team. The town is Oakland, the nickname. And he said he wanted to play quarterback, hinting he wanted to play quarterback for a team in Oakland with an empty stadium. Also, Danny Garcia assured that, I forgot her name, the president of the LA Wildcats would still be working with the XFL
Oh yeah,
on
she did a
Twitter.
great job.
She did do a great job.
I mean,
They are
the thing.
friends. So, and I'm not saying that that's a guarantee that it would be in LA, but
No,
we don't know what would happen. But I agree that LA might need to go. Either LA, I think New York just needs to move stadiums.
yeah, exactly. And part of me with the New York thing, I think they would actually bring in more fans. This sounds silly on paper, but just follow me. I think they need to move them to Red Bull Stadium, which is in New Jersey, and they need to change the name to the New Jersey Guardians.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would bring in, because people from New York, if they've got a team around there, yeah, they're going to come in. But we already know that the stadium was too big for them.
Oh,
I think that New
way
York
too big.
had an all right following had they been in a smaller stadium. The problem is that MetLife was just way too big
And expensive.
and expensive for what they had. Had they had been in Red Bull, New York would have been just fine.
Yes.
With everything. I mean, they had a fan base there. So, I don't want to knock them for not having a fan base, but I think that they would generate a bigger fan base if they name them New Jersey and give New Jersey kind of its dues for them being in New Jersey. That's just kind of my take on that. Now, whether or not, I'm not the business person. I'm not the one who's, running the analytics and running the test groups and focus groups and all of that with it. But that's just, I think just to kind of give a little shout out to our New Jersey people out there, I'd like to see the New Jersey Guardians.
Honestly, I don't mind that. Maybe a couple of years down the road, if they did that, call them the New Jersey Generals, switch out the colors for red, white, and gold, throw back to Herschel Walker, Doug Flutie in the USFL. They were good. They attracted a lot of people, a lot of attention because of their players. But I think that a lot of people would be up because, I have family in New Jersey. They feel the same way, that they don't get the respect. Their stadium is in New Jersey, yet the team is New York. And they feel that they deserve more respect as a professional sports state.
Yeah, the only thing is that I do know that they're not going to get the rights.
Yeah, no, they won't.
For that, the guy that holds the rights to the USFL, it's weird. He holds on to that stuff.
Yeah.
But yet is not planning on doing jack squat with it.
He uses them in movies. So, or TV shows. When you're ever watching a TV show or a movie, a lot of times you'll be watching USFL footage. As
gotcha.
We're watching the big game in a movie or a TV show. They pan to the screen. Sometimes you'll be watching New Jersey Generals, Breakers film, Birmingham Stallions.
Gotcha. So he kind of undercuts the NFL, gives them cheaper footage.
Yeah, and he makes a lot of money from it, and he got it for basically free.
Oh, right. Yeah. Exactly.
So
yeah. So I'm there with you. I think they need to relocate cities. And we already know that Dallas has closed up shop.
Yes.
There.
I think it's going to be San Antonio.
Yeah, it's pretty much, that one is is another one of those, it just, formalities need to happen. And San Antonio is a great football city.
Oh yeah.
Man, the Commanders, they had a great following there. They packed that stadium every game for those guys.
Yeah, and think about the XFL. So, St. Louis, packed. You add San Antonio, packed.
Mm-hmm.
Seattle, pretty packed.
Yeah, for a larger stadium.
For a larger stadium, too, yeah. That is 3 markets totally killing it. DC, although their stadium was smaller, still packed out the stadium. That's pretty darn good. And St. Louis and the Commanders, both for their leagues, were overshooting what they thought would actually happen. You know?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They were projecting with St. Louis that they were saying that their next home game, they were selling the place out. They were looking to possibly have a sellout of not just the lower bowl, the whole thing. They were looking at, that's where they were going, had everything not come to a screeching halt. And it was, Seattle was looking at boosting their stuff too, with just kind of that, the resurgence of the team playing well. And
Mm-hmm.
BJ Daniels taking over the team, and that, I mean, there was excitement there in Seattle. So yeah, I mean, that stuff. And then, moving then to the South with the Vipers. The Vipers had an all right following there in Tampa, but Florida is such a regional state.
Orlando.
Yeah, Orlando is where you need to be at. Or Orlando is the Orlando community is different than Tampa. Tampa's a lot more laid back, but Tampa likes their Tampa sports, and they don't get much else from the rest of the state. Whereas Orlando, they're a little bit more centralized, and they bring in things a little bit more. And Orlando loves their football, to where it's not a huge stadium that they have there. It's Camper World.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a huge stadium it's a decent sized stadium, and the Apollos did all right, there. And I think the XFL would do even better.
Yeah, the XFL did such a better job of marketing, of getting fans to games. I heard stories when I went and visited an Arizona Hot Shots game. The time was changed because of weather, and people who had season tickets just weren't even notified. Like, that's just a perfect example of how the AAF didn't really work well. The XFL would definitely get more fans to all the cities. Birmingham, another great city. I went to the Birmingham game that was literally in a tornado, and they were just packed out stadium. So
yeah, I think Birmingham, if we're continuing on down, so we went from relocation now to kind of expansion, so to say.
yeah.
Because I think that the rest of the cities, we talk DC, I think is going to stay there. Houston, I think is going to be where it's at. Houston had a good following. Who are we missing? Did we touch on everybody?
So I think that we'll start off from scratch talking about the league, the where everyone be. So we'll start off Orlando Vipers. I think that's kind of a lock.
Yep.
San Antonio Renegades,
Yep.
lock. Either San Diego or Oakland Wildcats, lock. St. Louis Battlehawks.
Yep.
Seattle Dragons.
Yep.
New York or New Jersey Guardians. DC Defenders. Who are we missing? One more. It's hard listing it out like this. Chat, help me out here.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I gotta have to.
It's hard when I'm not writing them down. We're missing a team that should be staying.
So we got DC, New York.
I feel like I said them all, but it's confusing.
You got them all. Houston, yeah, I think.
Yeah. Oh, you said Houston. Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't say Houston, but yeah. And also, I see some people commenting. I guess now we'll transition on to expansion cities. So I think Birmingham, definitely a team at the top.
Yes, Birmingham.
Columbus,
Yep.
Ohio. Oh yeah.
Ohio was one of the biggest markets for them TV ratings wise. All of their games. It didn't matter what game it was. Ohio was in the top 5 for just about every one of them, whether it be like the Cleveland or Columbus or whatever. You had an Ohio market in just about every one of those games. that
And
was top rated.
you know for a fact Danny Garcia and Dwayne the Rock Johnson know that because I think that the Ohio market, if they really wanted to move, maybe LA or the Vipers, maybe keep another team on the West Coast, but I feel like a Columbus team would kill it. I know this is different, but I went to an Ohio State football game. I didn't realize how much they loved football in Columbus, Ohio. It was
OH.
crazy. And I talked to people. I was like, yeah, I do YouTube a little bit for the XFL. These random Ohio State fans, we love the XFL. Oh my gosh, it's the greatest league. We all love it. All of them were super big Cardell Jones fans. They're all like, yeah, I'm buying apparel. I'm ready for the XFL. So,
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I mean,
I think
we love our football here in Ohio. There's definitely no doubt about it. I think the thing that scared the AAF off and the XFL is that, and I know some people are putting it that Ohio's so cold in February, but the thing is that it doesn't matter. People go to Cleveland Browns games, and if you don't know, that stadium is and Cincinnati Bengals fan, both of those stadiums are right on the water. Literally, that stadium's right there on the lake. I mean, you are freezing your rear end off, and they sell out stadiums year in and year out. People will go to the games regardless, as long as it's not negative degree weather, which is usually just January. And if you position it just right to get your games not in February, get them in March. I know Ohio weather's crazy, but you can definitely play, in Ohio. If you want to start Ohio area and looking at indoor places, Lucas Oil Stadium is just fantastic stadium there, and so is Ford Field. If you want to get around there, I think that the Crew Stadium there in Columbus would be a fantastic place.
is that a soccer team?
Yeah, it's just right down it's literally just downtown, right down the road from the shoe.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean they and too, they love their Crew there as well. But that would be a really good stadium for them. I think that they could fill that, and I think that that's a really nice place. I don't know. I guess you mentioned teams out west. Where would you put them? That one's kind of more up in the air for me.
It's hard because I don't know if the West, but Seattle. I think Portland, Oregon. I think they would be potentially good, but then again, I still don't know. I did not think that Seattle would be a good fit. I was wrong there. I San Jose. I don't know. I honestly.
I think you're going to have to find kind of those. I think you can find some more of those scorned, NFL teams. Where those NFL markets and things like that. I think you could start to look into some of that stuff. I don't know. It is kind of tough because the West is a lot different than when you look at the East. But I mean, you could easily though.
I mean, San Diego. I'm sure San Diego would kill it.
Oh, San Diego would be fantastic. So if you moved a team to Oakland, and if you ask me, the Wildcats just seem they just look more like an Oakland team to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Just kind of with their styling, the way that they are. It just kind of it does have that just kind of that more feel than the San Diego. So San Diego would work if they moved one to Oakland. I don't think that if they moved LA to San Diego, I don't think bringing in an expansion team into Oakland would be as good of an idea as it would bringing the expansion team into San Diego. Because I think you've got a much better chance of those LA fans going with the LA team than I think you do starting a new fan base in Oakland. But I think that that's good. I also think that what you could do is add the Birmingham team, possibly add another Midwest team, and then just move St. Louis to the West. You could easily do that.
Yeah. I definitely feel like could do Las Vegas if it depending on how well the Las Vegas NFL team does. But I remember there was an original XFL team in Vegas. There was there's a UFL team in Vegas. United State no. I think it's the UFL. Their colors are like blue and green or something like that. But those could all be potential cities. Chad, do y'all have any cities? I did see Omaha, Nebraska, Nashville. Omaha, Nebraska really interests me. They did well in, I believe it's the UFL. The Omaha Nighthawks. They actually, didn't they have like Maurice Claret at running back or someone like that?
Yeah, didn't they move? Weren't they like in Nebraska?
Yeah.
And then they might have moved. I don't know. That was the UFL was kind of a neat idea, but they only lasted for a couple years, and they moved the teams around where I don't remember. They only had like 6 teams, but they moved them around. It's Omaha. I don't know. I just I think that I don't know. It's interesting when you start looking at these the kind of markets and what type of a draw. Some of them it's either like it's a smash hit or you smash it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's either going to be a dud or it's going to do really well. I don't really see it being an in between to where you just kind of know you're going to have a fan base, like moving into an area like like New York or St. Louis or something where they love football.
Yeah. And here's my opinion. If the XFL relocates and finds 3 or 4 teams that essentially knock it out of the ballpark with ticket sales, fan engagement, Nicholas Porter, Louisville. I think that Louisville would do well. But if the XFL can find those four teams, then they could potentially, be exceeding their business plan. What they thought they could do. Louisville is another nice expansion city. I've been to Louisville for some lacrosse tournaments. That city is awesome. I actually almost went to Louisville. Yeah. I was thinking about it.
Yeah. Louisville is a decent city there, and with the Cardinals there, their stadium, and that I think would be an all right fit, and you're going to bring in some of that Cincinnati market there. So yeah. I think that's I think that would be a decent place there. But then again, you're starting to run into with Louisville, you're starting to run into getting into kind of that Columbus kind of area, and that where you kind of start to step on the toes of that, to where I still think like an Indianapolis or like a Detroit or Columbus or something like that would be a better fit than than going down to Louisville. So
I think if you wanted, so if we're just saying there's an expansion one day and we had like our northern part of the United States, I think that Columbus and Omaha would be the top 2 targets. I mean, I also went to a Nebraska game. That was crazy. They didn't make it to a bowl game that year, yet the stadium was packed and they lost by a lot of points.
Yeah.
But they just keep getting fans. I'm sure Nebraska fans would be on board for an XFL team. I don't think it would be that hard of a sell.
No.
All right. Do you have something to say?
No, I'm good. I was just gonna say the only thing you're gonna run into with Nebraska is the cold as well.
True. But the UFL did it. But
Yeah.
so we're going on to our last topic. This is a little bit of a fun topic. We're talking about the uniforms. So a lot of you know that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, sponsored by Under Armour. He's a big Under Armour guy. The uniforms are currently, yes, they're made by Adidas, but they are done by an independent distributor. So Adidas, like the Adidas, you have their shoes. They didn't actually really have any part in designing the uniforms or doing anything. The XFL actually went basically the cheapest, good-looking possible option. I mean, the jerseys were incredible looking.
Yeah, they were fantastic, and that's the thing. Like they're not Adidas apparel. They have no ties to Adidas whatsoever, other than they're made by the exact same supplier. Pretty much what they did is they cut out the middleman Adidas and went straight to the people that manufacture for Adidas, that put them together, and that's what they did. Yeah. And and so as I look at it, I think it's a great opportunity for them to get Under Armour. I can tell you that I am a huge Under Armour fan. Their stuff, it fits fantastic. It feels great. I would be all for it. I'm pretty much decked out in just about everything Under Armour. And I have had Adidas. I have had Nike stuff. I think that that they have more opportunities there with Under Armour, and I think that maybe with the Rocks ties that would be a kind of a cool thing. I think that it not being officially Adidas does help them, because I think that they might be able to work out a deal with Under Armour had it been Adidas and then be under contract with Adidas. I think that would be another thing. But you hit it right, the nail right on the head with it from the get-go. They went with the best, cheapest option that they could, and they might just stick with that. Yeah. I would like to see kind of them just really expand on things. I mean, their merchandise sold well and is still selling for a league that's dead.
I'm about to buy
merchandise.
A jacket. I'm about to buy a jacket. I can't decide what team I want. Chat, y'all can decide. Tell me what team to buy. I already have a Battlehawks football, and I have a Battlehawks shirt, and then I also have a DC Defenders shirt. So I don't know what I'm gonna get, but I'm gonna get something.
I pretty much just have I've got a couple of sweatshirts of the Seattle Dragons, and then I got a polo of the Seattle Dragons. So that's pretty much what I have right now. So it's just all Dragons over here.
Yeah, and honestly, I like Adidas. I'm actually, fun fact, my nonprofit, we're sponsored by Adidas. So I have some ties to them. They sent me a bunch of free stuff. If you look in the background of my videos, we got a bunch of sick free Adidas uniforms. They sent us football jerseys, basketball jerseys, lacrosse stuff. They helped me make my logo. I like the guys over at Adidas. They get some hate for some of the stuff they do. I like it. At the end of the day, though, uniforms are uniforms. It really matters about the product. I mean, the AAF had good uniforms. They were with Starter.
Starter's done some decent stuff, and they were floated around as being, the ones to do the things for the XFL, and I think they did some apparel for the XFL early on. I'm not necessarily trying to be a hater for all of your AAF guys out there. I did not like any of their stuff. I really struggled to like any of the logos. I really struggled to like any of the color schemes, and that with it. And I mean, I would take any of the XFL logos and stuff over theirs. And the thing, and again, it just goes to show you kind of the lack of like you could just tell the difference between the XFL and the AAF. The AAF they had so each team had their own one uniform, and so it was they wore it every game, and
they eventually had to change because some of the team colors looked too similar. Like when the Iron played the San Diego Fleet, the San Diego Fleet had to come out with white jerseys. The Orlando Apollos had to come out with blue jerseys. So they had to do a little bit. But yeah, I know what you're saying. I know what you're referring to.
Yeah, and but just that the XFL came out and said, "Hey, we're doing legit home and legit, aways," and they did it in such a way that it was done nice and well, but frugal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they'll probably continue to do it that way.
Yeah.
And if Under Armour seems to be the best bet, I think they'll go there. And if this, I can't remember the company's name, and I apologize to them. They did a really nice job with doing the jerseys and that. But going back to that supplier and working with them, whatever, I'm fine with it.
I differed a little bit. I thought that the AAF actually did a better job of making the logos and uniforms more like grassroots about the city. So Birmingham Iron, obviously Birmingham, huge iron industry. The Fleet, to me, is one of the most incredible, like my favorite logos. If you look in the back of my videos, I have a Fleet helmet. Those jerseys were sick. The Stallions, the helmet was original. I'm not really, I don't know much about Salt Lake City, so I assume it had something to do with horses being there. The Hot Shots, cool story. The Arizona Hot Shots, the people who put out the fires in Arizona. When I went to the game, I got to actually meet the firefighters who they honored. They all felt the Orlando Apollos with the sun. They all felt a lot more connected. I'm trying to think the San Antonio Commanders, they really felt more connected in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm just kind of a flash kind of guy. So I like the bright colors. I like the things, and two, I am not and this is no knock. This is just my personal preference. I like when it comes to mascots, I like them. I like animals. I like, I like that type of a thing. The thing for me was I just found it. I loved the I loved the Guardians with that whole gargoyle.
That was cool.
But, I mean, how they tied it in, but made it like a, kind of more of a generic type of name. I thought that was really neat and that, but yeah, I'm a sucker for, for the flashy, that type of a thing. The AAF's colors were just too dull for me. And again, it's personal preference. I don't think the designs were necessarily bad or that they were professional. They were done by a very good artist, and that it's just not my personal taste. You know what I mean? Which is fine. We can.
Yeah.
That's what I love about our community is we can have these conversations and not be mad at each other and be okay that we're not on the same page.
Yeah, one of the most interesting teams in my opinions was probably the Battlehawks in terms of design, just the helmet and the name. And everything that went into St. Louis. The Battlehawks, St. Louis.
Yeah, the upside down STL.
Yeah. And how just the helmets reminded me of Oregon. I'm a sucker for cool helmet designs. Speaking of cool helmet designs, the Memphis Express had some great ones. The AAF, who was their quarterback? Why am I forgetting him?
Oh, they had
Penn State,
Johnny
Hackenberg. Oh, yeah, and Johnny Manziel.
Yeah, and then, Crashenberg, Christian Hackenberg.
Crashenberg. He was a hothead. They mic'd him up only for one game, and I could see why. He was getting pissed at his offensive linemen, yelling all over. Speaking of, Brandon Silvers played. for the Memphis Express. We saw a lot of players go from the AAF to the XFL.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
I'm surprised we didn't see Trent Richardson.
They didn't want him, and I know why. He just for some reason, I think he lost a step or something. He just didn't have that breakaway speed that he had, before. And granted, I mean, the guy's been around for a little while now, so I mean, you gotta take that into consideration. But watching what he did in the AAF and the level of preparedness of the games, because the talent is not where it was at. It was the coaching staffs and how well they had the players ready to play, and it really showed after watching the XFL and the access we got with the XFL, just how much higher quality the coaching was.
Yeah.
And the scheming of it. But just looking at the differences between like a guy like Trent Richardson and a guy like Patrick or Jones or Devion Smith. I mean, and I could just go down Pumphrey.
A couple of those running backs, like I'm pretty. Was it Devion Smith or was it a different Michigan guy?
No, it was Devion Smith.
There were some, there are some AAF guys also.
Yeah, he was on the
Apollos.
The Apollos, yeah.
Yeah, along with Garrett Gilbert, who would have started in the XFL, but he plays for the Browns. And well, Steve Spurrier coached his team well. You could obviously tell that.
Yeah, it's like the other guys, and this was my knock on it. This is where they shot themselves in the foot. The AAF set themselves up to be the little brother to the NFL, and as soon as they did that, they put a ceiling and a cap on what they could do, and so everything in the league, like, don't get me wrong, everybody in the XFL was trying to get a payday in the NFL. Everybody knew it. It wasn't this thing to where they threw competition out the window. I felt like in the AAF with some of the teams and some of the coaching, the idea is to give these guys these tools, and it was more about giving them the experience and the tools to get them to the NFL than it was about winning a dang game. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, I'm not into watching a lower level of preseason football.
Well, yeah,
that's not what I'm not there for.
So it's weird. The AAF now, kind of in retrospect, their marketing level was, okay, we're attracting NFL fans who maybe don't like the NFL anymore, but we're also part of the NFL. But a lot of NFL fans don't like watching preseason anyways, but they're going to want to watch this for some magical reason. But then if you have a lot of people like the XFL because they don't like the NFL, you're automatically crossing them out because you're affiliating yourself with the NFL. And it really did feel like the NFL's little brother in many ways. Just the way it was run, the way the coaches, it felt a lot like the NFL's little brother.
No, they were the illegitimate little brother,
and they were admitting it too.
Yeah, I mean, and that was the thing. Like, they wanted to be, they were all buddy with the NFL, and the NFL was all buddy with them. But the NFL didn't want to pony up anything when it came time, to really do anything with it. So yeah, like I said, I had my issues with the AAF. There were some teams that really put some things together. The Hot Shots were fun to watch.
Oh, they were awesome. Rocket Ross.
Yes, exactly. And I'm glad that Ross got his opportunity there. I think he just wasn't what they wanted in LA, and for him to get his chance there in DC was cool. But yeah, them, the Commanders, Orlando. The thing about Orlando that stunk is that they never were the game on. So they were the best team in the league, but you never got to see them because they were always in the market that wasn't on the TV.
Oh, so I had like the total access, the CBS,
okay.
So I got to watch all the games.
Well, that was the thing for me. Like yeah, I've always got Ohio markets, and so the Florida game was never, you know,
Ah,
the, the one on. So I gotta, you know, and Memphis was a disaster.
there, yeah.
Um, the Iron, they kind of,
They
they
were, I believe, they were second in the league.
right, yeah, they couldn't figure out exactly their identity other than just just kind of pounding the ball. I think
Yeah.
if they just would have just set on Luis Perez and just said this is what we're gonna do, I think he was their best option there.
Well,
I think it would
they
have been fine.
switched late in the season to Keith Price, former
Yeah. Yep.
Washington quarterback. He went off and really kind of took it, but then I think they may have switched back. It was really
They did.
confusing. And by second team, I meant second team and like getting fans out there. I don't know. I think probably his second best team in the league. The Hot Shots were about to take the number one seed, in my opinion, just by that time. They were getting good with John Wolford. And I remember Orlando, did they not, did they lose or almost lose?
They lost one game. They lost that weird. It was a weird fluke game they lost where they just kept stalling out.
Yeah. But the Arizona Hotshots went into San Antonio and upset the Commanders. So, yeah. That was an interesting. It was fun while it lasted. It was.
Yeah, it was all right. I enjoyed it in a football aspect with that and like I said, I'm an XFL guy, and I'll give the AAF their dues with that, but for me there's no comparison to anything. The product on the field, the uh, the experience that we got, everything the XFL did just above and beyond that. With it for me, but I think it was kind of cool to reminisce there for a little bit though.
Yeah. All right. We'll end the stream with one final thing. If the XFL got to the playoffs, who would your top four be? Where would your championship? Who would those two teams be, and who would win it all? Chat, y'all can start with that. Tyler, do you have any ideas of who your top four would be in the XFL? It could just be top four overall.
All right, so let's go ahead and you know, one thing that I do want to say is that the XFL they did what they said that they were going to do, and they made parity in the league. They understood that it needed to be good games, games that were still a one score game in the fourth quarter, and they really tried to make that, and they did what they were set out to do, because really every team had an opportunity to still make the playoffs even after halfway through the season. So I thought that was pretty cool. Um, the top four teams that I think were when I look at it, I think we're gonna be Houston, L.A., um, St. Louis, and I think that the Dragons would have put kind of their stamp of things on there. However, I think the Dragons would have been left out. I think it would have been Houston and LA. I think Houston would have made it to the championship game. I think St. Louis would have ran away with things. I think that the Guardians would have kind of made a pushback. I actually think DC would have went back to Cardell Jones, and I think Cardell Jones would have turned things around. I think who's the big guy that came in for him and just ran the ball?
Uh, from Buffalo,
Yeah, I can't think of his name. But the big dude, 6'7".
number 3.
Yeah, he. I mean,
Chat, you
and
got it. Look it up.
yeah, and but anyways, I think they would have went back to Cardell. Their offense, Cardell just needed to make better decisions, and to their offense, if you watched it, they were all off kilter. They
It
were
was
they were
weird.
firing on all cylinders, and part of it was is the play calling that they were doing, and the coaching with that, which they knew. And I think Cardell would have came back. I think it would have been a nice story with him, and I think it would have probably ended up being uh, being actually DC and St. Louis there, St. Louis winning it, and then I think I think that Houston probably would end up winning it all. I just think that they just had things rolling, had things together, and I think that I think it showed they had the best player on the field, and the best player came up and showed up and shined, and I think that's what would have happened. So that's kind of my take on it.
There we go. It's Terrell Jackson. I knew it was Terrell something.
Jackson.
Okay, so here's mine. And it's hard because we're only halfway through the season, which sucks so much. But we'll take what we can get. So I think in the West, in the XFL West, lock Houston, and then LA Wildcats, they were coming on at the end of the season. I mean, they were looking good. They were putting some teams, giving them runs for money. So I think those two play in the West. And then in the East, Battlehawks, definitely. With Jordan Te'amu, the run game, that defense was stout. And then I go with the Guardians. So they finished the season beating the Defenders, just throttling them. Luis Perez and the Guardians almost beat the Battlehawks. So the Guardians were kind of on to something. Their defense was always good because they had Kayvon Walker, the basically top defensive player in the whole league. So I would say Wildcats versus Roughnecks rematch from week 1. That would have been just, oh my gosh, an offensive dream. Because remember, the Roughnecks, they had a couple close calls as the season got close to ending. I mean, and the Wildcats with Josh Johnson firing on all cylinders. I mean, I don't think, like, if the Roughnecks won that game, I think that it would have been close. And I would, like, if it happened, I would have not been surprised if the Wildcats had won. So, but I would say, PJ Walker factor. We'll go ahead and call it. So Houston Roughnecks in the championship, playing the Battlehawks versus Guardians. I think the Guardians would get the upset just to shake it up a little bit. Then you have Guardians and Roughnecks. That one doesn't really match up well, so Roughnecks win it all. But the Guardians were getting really good, and the Battlehawks offense was kind of... And another team that was starting to get better was the Vipers. They were probably one of my most exciting teams that I wanted to watch as the season went on. And, they finally got a better quarterback. Thank you, Wildcard Gaming 07. Nice to see you on the stream. I mean, they shut out the Defenders, remember? At home. And they were like, oh, whoa, Vipers. And then they barely lost to the Wildcats.
That was an exciting game.
That game was awesome. And they also, the week before, they shut out the Defenders. They barely lost to the Houston Roughnecks. So
yeah, that was the most bizarre team that I have seen or followed.
I mean, their offense by week 3 was just... So, week 1 and week 2, they score 3 points in week 1, 9 points in week 2. Week 3, 27. Week 4, 25. Week 5, 34. And week 6, they would have played the St. Louis Battlehawks. Week 7, they would have played Dallas. Week 8, DC again. St. Louis again. Then week 10, they would end with the New York Guardians. That final game of the season, New York versus Tampa Bay, could have decided who got into the playoffs. Like, that's something that we missed. That would have been awesome to see.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, a one-win team that had the best offense in the league.
It's all about the quarterback. They put in Taylor Cornelius, and the run game just exploded with him at quarterback. And also Dan Williams. Whew. That was fun to watch.
They were finally starting to find him.
Gosh. Tressman. He probably was pissed, probably more than anyone, that the league folded, because everyone hated on him. And then he started getting things going. I feel like he could have easily made the playoffs in competition with the Guardians. I think that the Defenders, I don't know, maybe they could have gotten something together. It was a tight race. I think tighter than the West, at least.
Oh yeah.
All right, guys. Do y'all have any final questions? We had a really, really good stream. Got a lot of XFL stuff done. Probably do some more streams in the future. Hopefully more news will come out. Hopefully they do some press conference or something.
Yeah, David, the AF is done.
No, the AF got purchased. Their assets or their equipment, all that, their warehouse got purchased by Major League Football.
Yeah.
So, yep, the AF is rest in peace. Here, wait, guys. If y'all want, 1 second. Speaking of rest in peace to the AAF, it's updating. Taking a while. The internet's bad. There we go. Your official rest in peace to the Alliance. Long live. Long live the Alliance of American Football. All right, guys. We are heading off. Thanks for joining the live stream with Breaking the Action Sports. We had some fun talking XFL. As always, thanks for tuning in.